So, I recently rewatched Iron Man. No reason, just felt like it. Of course, the movie still holds up today. It's great. Definitely an 8.5 out of 10. Not a masterpiece, but still amazing. However, as you may have guessed from the title, this video isn't a review. No, it's different. As you may know, Iron Man was the first film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and by proxy, the first film in a long domino chain that would end up changing Hollywood for a long time. Possibly forever. Well, not forever. I doubt they'll still be pumping out MCU flicks after the heat death of the universe. Anyways, this movie was a huge success, grossing over $585.8 million worldwide, with a budget of $140 million. What if that didn't happen? What if a few events played out differently, causing this film to not be the success we know it as? What I'm trying to say is, first of all, I doubt Kevin Feige would ever be allowed to touch anything Marvel related ever again. He put a lot of money into Iron Man, saying that it would start something new and amazing, a connected cinematic universe. If Iron Man had failed, however, then the higher-ups at Marvel probably would have viewed the rest of Feige's plans as too risky and kicked him out the door. So that whole Marvel Cinematic Universe thing would be dead. But the funeral would be an open casket. You see, The Incredible Hulk came out a month after Iron Man and was the second movie in the MCU. It ends with General Ross, played by the late, great William Hurt, drinking his sorrows away at a bar after the Hulk's escape. He is then visited by a Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, who then talks to him about putting a team together, setting up the Avengers. This scene, alongside the post-credits from Iron Man, was meant to set up this huge, interconnected universe. But in this hypothetical alternate reality, they set up absolutely nothing. All audiences were left with was a weird but cool little crossover. Now that's just Marvel. How will this affect Hollywood as a whole? Well, Iron Man's main competitor at the box office was the Wachowski sisters' Speed Racer, which was a super colorful, fast-paced joyride of a movie. In real life, this movie flopped. Hard. Like, really hard. Financially and critically. So, let's say in this alternate timeline, Speed Racer beat Iron Man at the box office. The critics were a bit nicer to it, and its advertisement campaign was more effective than Iron Man's. What would that entail? Well, studios would probably see the success of this crazy, colorful, vibrant action flick and think, hey, we should do that too. So, a lot more fun and colorful movies, shows, and even video games would be prevalent. Now, do I think Speed Racer's success would wipe out most grounded and realistic movies? No! Remember, A Dark Knight came out the same year and was a huge success. I think Speed Racer's success alongside that of The Dark Knight will lead to a more even split of fun, colorful movies and gritty, realistic movies. Who knows? Maybe that would cause Marvel and DC to start making more fantastical films with more colorful and comic-accurate suits. That would be cool. Oh, and that reminds me. The MCU kind of changed how superheroes are viewed by the general public. Before the huge success of the MCU, superheroes and comic books were seen as things that were only liked by nerds and geeks who wear braces and khakis and pocket protectors and have severe acne. After the MCU, however, superheroes became more popular amongst normies. Now, if you ask a random guy on the street what Spider-Man's secret identity is, they'd most likely say Peter Parker instead of beating you to death with a crowbar. Because of the MCU's lack of existence in this timeline, though. Characters like Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America are only liked by little wusses who give all their lunch money to Brad so that they don't get shoved into a locker.
Hey, this is Editing Space Guy here, coming back during the editing process. I forgot to mention this in the video, so I'll say it here. Marvel's, quote-unquote Big Three would also probably remain as Spider-Man, Hulk, and Wolverine in this timeline, instead of how it is today, that being Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, the guys I just mentioned in the video. Now, a lot of people would fairly argue that, the Big Three isn't Cap, Iron Man, and Thor, which, yeah, fair, because there's absolutely no way Spider-Man isn't part of the Big Three. It's Spider-Man, dude, come on. I'm pretty, I think it's, safe to say he's the most popular superhero, ever. That's not, bias or anything, because I, own, 3 billion tons of Spider-Man merchandise, and he's my favorite character in all of fiction. I'm just ranting at this point, man. Get back to the video, bro. Come on, man. This is getting ridiculous.
Disney also wouldn't have bought out Marvel like they did in our timeline. They wouldn't see it as profitable and would stick to their classic musicals as well as their Pixar movies. Who knows? Maybe they wouldn't have bought Lucasfilm. No, they were still. That's a canon event. I'm sorry, Legends fans. The Lucasfilm buyout is a canon event. I'm sorry. A lot of actors also wouldn't be nearly as popular if Iron Man had flopped. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Sebastian Stan, Jeremy Renner, Tom Holland, Scarlett Johansson, Chadwick Boseman, all of these people wouldn't be nearly as well known as they are today without the MCU. A lot of movies and TV shows also wouldn't exist. For example, Man of Steel probably wouldn't have been made in this alternate timeline. Remember, Speed Racer was a huge success, so more colorful and fun movies would be popular. DC would have seen this and decided not to get Zack Snyder to make the Superman movie, instead going for a more comic-accurate adaptation. Because Man of Steel wouldn't have come out in this universe, neither would the rest of the DCEU. Therefore, we wouldn't have to deal with all those insufferable Snyder bros who crap their pants whenever they see a comic-accurate Superman. Speaking of which, this universe also wouldn't have James Gunn's DCU either. Remember, the DCU was created due to the failure of the DCEU, but if the DCEU wouldn't exist, then neither would its successor. But who knows? Maybe a Marvel Cinematic Universe would eventually come to fruition, just not the way we know it. Maybe the X-Men would have done a crossover movie with the Fantastic Four. Maybe Spider-Man 4 would have had a cameo of Daredevil. Maybe we'd get a different Avengers movie, one of a completely different cast, all wearing comic-accurate suits. A ton of things would have happened if Iron Man had flopped. Would a world without the MCU be better? Well, that's up to you. Anyways, that's all I have to say. This is Space Guy, signing off.
I hope you have a nice day.
Aw, thank you!
Or do I hope you have cyanide? Ah!